Yo, what's up boys? If you want to get better at Surge, and this new series I'm doing called Surge Studies will be so helpful to you. So I'm going to start this new series on the channel called Surge Studies, like I said before, where I go into like a really stacked set lobby type of tournament and I'll go into a game. For example, in this video I'm going to go into the recent Elite Weekly Finals, and then I'll look through like the good teams that do the best with Surge each game and see how they all handle it differently in the same match. Enough talking, let's do this. Okay, so we're gonna watch this weekly finals, which is 15th on OCE, and we'll just go into the first match for this game, because usually the first match is obviously the most stacked, so it'll be really good to see in the first match how people deal with Surge. So into the first team, we're gonna be watching this team, and they land top tilted. And in the first game, this is the zone, which is actually pretty good to learn about because these zones are like pretty awkward, I'd say. Like, I think they're pretty awkward for Surge. Like, a lot of the time you won't really know what to do because like if a zone pulls like really hard edge, you know like where zone's going to usually go. So you can set yourself up in a position that you probably know is going to be good. So it looks like first of all they try to go get this hill, which is obviously like probably the best spot that you could get for Surge. As you can see, like imagine your position there, like pretty central on like a really high hill, and like the view is like really good for here, like there's not much stuff in the way. So they obviously, as you can see, he goes up to see if he can get it, and then nah, he can't get it, and then they're gonna have to adjust their plan of where to go. And you can notice as well the timer, about 3 minutes left on zone closing. You'll notice like every good team, like they'll have like a decent drop uncon, and then they'll just like know a loop path so they can leave at around like a good time every time, like 3 minutes or more closing on zone. You can notice every good team that deals with Surge well will like end up leaving that early, and they end up going up here and getting this hill, which is, I'd say, is a pretty good position, but obviously it's not better than this position, but they know they couldn't get that anyway. So it's like probably the next best place they could get. Because also they saw this base up here, which is actually kind of a fake base. So they probably just assumed someone was up there. So the next best thing for them to do was definitely to go up here. Because they got this tower as well, so they can get really high up, and they have this bush. And what they do cool as well is like one of them stays in the bush to get tags, and then one of them bases up here to get tags. I think that could be really good as well, because like if you see a base up here and you're like these teams over here, you usually won't think there's someone in here. You might like peek around you because you know this team's not, you know the person up on this base isn't peeking, and then that kind of like baits them to look at other people, and then the person in the bush can shoot them, and it just gives you different angles and stuff, which is always good. And I think in this position, like the reason it can get you Surge and it's like pretty good, apart from it just being high up, is you know there's going to be traffic coming towards down here. Like if you think about the way people will rotate, it's pretty obvious that there'll be like an amount of traffic going like down here, and then they're like kind of central, so they got like a decent chance of getting like a good zone next to keep holding people. And as you can see, there's like all this traffic coming through and they're getting a bunch of Surge on them, and he's kind of like covering the backside, and this guy's on like looking at the front, so they kind of do have like almost a 360 view of everything. But then again, you should realize that most of the people that are going to be rotating in your Surge will be like in this portion here, because they're all rotating in towards zone. Like the people back here, they're not going to be moving around, but it's still a good idea for them to maybe be in the bush sometimes, because you can still get Surge in the people in the bases because they're peeking for Surge obviously. But then at the point now where like they're all aware that he's like shooting them and stuff, and that his teammate probably calmed that there's a bunch of people here, he like goes back and then diverts his attention towards this area more. See, as he goes to this bush, and instead of rotating early, I think they try to take advantage of this like good position for Surge and like hold these people a bit more before they rotate, because they could miss out on a lot of Surge, especially if they have like average Surge. Like if they know they're going to be like 100 or 200 above, then it'll be a good idea to just like sacrifice like half a minute to get some extra Surge. And then around now they've got heaps of Surge, and now they just blob in, and they're like, I watched, and they like curve all the way back here, and then they get in deep. And that's the thing as well, like if you get a bunch of like good surge on first/second moving, then on your rotate 2-second moving, since you know you're comfortable with your surge, you can rotate really far, like kind of dead side, and then cut in. And then with third zone, you can easily get a good position and set up for more surge, because obviously, like I've talked about before, if you're in dead side of a zone, it makes it really easy to rotate the next zone. You can see they're going to be really comfortable with their surge now, so they can just focus on getting like a way better position for the future, instead of having to be a team like over here where you're not that good like surge, so you just kind of have to stay in an area where you can still see people, so they don't get the advantage of going into a spot like them, which is going to be better for their like third zone rotate. Okay, so now I want to watch this team that actually lands down here towards Dusty, which I think could be good because it's a bit more realistic for people that like aren't good enough to like get a really good spot in zone, because a lot of people are gonna find it hard to get like a good, really fast, easy to loot like POI and stuff like tilted towers like these people do. Even though the like drop is actually pretty good, it's just not like near as good for surge as like tilted, obviously. Because in tilted, since you're like middle of the map, all the zones like are gonna be relatively easy for you to rotate quickly to, and it's just gonna be way quicker to loot because all the loot is like really congested, whereas in a split drop it's really like spread out. And especially in this zone, like as we just watched Tui and stuff, the people that land top tilted, they literally left at 3 minutes and got to their surge spot in 3 minutes, so they had heaps of time to look for surge compared to someone like this. And they actually do leave like pretty early, like at 3 minutes or 3 minutes 30 I think, but since they're edge zone they have to rotate so far, and they do push for this hill up here, which I think is their best like choice or best decision they could make for surge, because like all the hills that they could get are already taken, obviously, like on the other side, and this is the closest hill to them that's like kind of central, and we'll be able to see like the traffic of these people coming through and stuff. But like any position down here on the map would have been like pretty bad unless they pull a really lucky zone down there. They set up on this hill here, which is pretty good, and you notice how they make it here at 1 minute 30 closing, even though they even left earlier than these people here. But you already know they probably are not going to have near as much surge as these people, because this position is way better for many reasons. It's just way higher up, obviously, and they got here at 3 minutes closing, which is extremely early, and they have a way better view of everything. They can even see all over there. That's like a 270-degree radius of like all the people coming into zone, if you know what I mean, because behind them there's not going to be much like traffic of people running around that they can shoot, even though there will be like a couple people that are like in the bases being still that they can shoot. They just have a way bigger area. They like can see all the people in zone that can rotate in, so it's way better that way. But if you are positioned back here, it may be the best thing they could do, but it's obviously not going to be as good, because as you can see here, like their view of all the area over here where people have to rotate from towards you is like kind of cut off, so it's definitely not as good, but this is like the best they could get. And then this is a really good zone for them for their surge, obviously, because their edge zone based up pretty high on a hill, and they get to see all this traffic of all these people coming towards them. So I assume they probably stay because of how late they got here and because how it's not like a great position. So I bet you they stay until like the next zone goes, which is a good idea because there's no other way they'll probably get surge. So this is the best choice, because they know there's going to be heaps of people up here. Even though they can't see it like we can, they know there's going to be people coming from this direction towards them, so they'll just hold people on the edge second, get their surge up that way. And you can see here how much surge they get on people coming in, and they're like 200 above ish, which is pretty like reasonable for the position they're in. And they don't get the privilege of like rotating really early like that team before, because of, like I said before, multiple reasons. Like they got here late and it's not as good of a position, so they have to stay here because of that, and they don't get to set themselves up for a really good like later position. And they even noticed this team here, they don't have surge, so they're getting ticked and they're about to pat on them, which is so good for them. So that's them kind of set for surge in the game, and now they just have to worry about this rotate. Yo, thanks for making it through the whole video. If you want to keep learning like you did in this video, if you actually found it useful, then definitely click the video that I'm putting up on the screen right now, where I actually voted you another player in the Elite Cup qualifiers. Join the community Discord using the link in the description of this video if you want to be involved in any videos, and make sure you leave a like, comment and subscribe if you actually found this video useful to let me know, and use code Vujcich. Goodbye.